World of Warcraft is likely changing massively with this update and round of class changes. And as always, if you want to make sure that you're staying up to date with news related to World of Warcraft, then smash that subscribe button. Your support is greatly appreciated. I know a lot of people have been asking a lot of questions like, is the game really going to change? Is it just going to be the same old? And, what should we really be expecting? And I think this post right here is one that could set a precedent for something completely different. Hello, Healers of Azeroth. In today's new beta build, we're making some significant changes to healing that we've outlined in the development notes. Health pools are increasing relative to their Dragonflight values, which has changed how it feels to heal other players in variety of content. Most notably, we're reducing the strength of percentage-based healing spells to keep them in line with their intended power, and we're increasing the effectiveness of hybrid healing and single-target heals to ensure they remain an effective means of defensive power. We hope with these adjustments that healing doesn't become any easier or harder. We intend to shift some of the challenging moments from overwhelming bursty damage to a more sustained healing profile. And I think this right there, this is like the number one complaint for anybody who's just an average Joe or a newcomer, is that the burst damage out of nowhere in a game ends and you're struggling to figure out what has happened. Making it more about sustained damage and maintaining uptime, maintaining a rotation, and having more time to react and to try and recover, which should likely be really good for those levels of players. But also even at the top level, having sustained damage matter more, having health values not just immediately need to be at 100% or that target's going to die. I think this is going to be a massive adjustment, assuming that they can hit the mark with it, which obviously we are going to look at some of the changes coming through to see if these are going to assist at all. For Death Knight, percentage-based healing is coming down on your Fallen Crusader engravement of your weapon enchant, 4% maximum health down from 6. Raise Abomination is going to be doing a little bit more damage. For Frost, the Deathbringer talent tree specifically, your Exterminate Scythe is going to be doing 25% more damage. The second Scythe is going to be doing 20% more damage, and Soul Rupture is going to be doing 30% of its damage to nearby enemies. Reaper's Mark's ability damage, not the stack debuff, will be increased by 88%, and Wave of Souls damage increased by 15%. So Frost Death Knight, hero talent buffs here. For Rider of the Apocalypse, you are also getting buffed. White Mane Death Coil cast frequency increased. White Mane Undeath cast frequency increased. Trollbane's Ice Fury now correctly deals Shadow Frost damage. And Trollbane's Ice Fury deals reduced damage beyond 8. For Unholy specifically, Undeath now scales with Unholy Death Knight's Mastery. Trollbane's Ice Fury now scales correctly with Unholy Death Knight's Mastery. And Vampiric Strike now functions with Reaping. So more synergies, just increasing frequencies and buffs to Death Knights across the board here. For Sand Lane, your hero talents for Unholy and Blood, Infliction of Sorrow now extends the duration of Virulent Plague and Blood Plague by 3 seconds, while the Gift of Sand Lane is active, up from 2. So just all around wins here for Death Knights. For Demon Hunter, Thrill of the Fight damage increase reduced to 20% from 30. Reaver's Mark damage increase reduced to 12 to 24 from 15 to 30. And Reaver's Mark converted to stacks now grants 1 stack if cast first, 2 if cast second. So seemingly, I think some nerfs here. I hate when they use language like this, and I'm sure someone in the comment section is going to tell me, no, I'm wrong, but maybe I'm right. The damage increase has been reduced. So it's a lower amount of damage increase. Seems like a bit of a nerf, to me at least, for the Aldrachi Reaver Demon Hunters. For Havoc, Warblade's Hunger Fellblade now consumes up to 5 nearby soul fragments, which is likely going to give you a lot of sustained healing. I'd say I'm surprised to not see like this is a little bit of a change here. Consuming lesser soul fragments now heals 6% down from 10, but with the max health increase, it's more like it's just going to keep healing the same. And Demon Hunter self healing is absolutely crazy from what I've been testing so far. It's absolutely out of this world. So if this is just bringing it back to where it was before the stamina increase, I think it's going to likely need even more reductions past this point. These changes are the ones that they're adding to the PTR that I covered in my previous build. 15% healing buff to Swiftmend, Wild Growth, Rejuve, and Regrowth. That is going to be applied to the War Within max level as well. Hero talents, Bombardments are going to be doing 30% more damage for Scale Commander, Devastation Evoker, and Augmentation Evoker. Really fun hero tree, so you're getting more damage out of that one. This change also for the PTRs coming into the War Within. Eternity Surge's damage is going to be doing 15% more. Imminent Destruction is no longer the capstone and has swapped positions with Feed the Flames. I'm a bit uncertain as to what this actually means as far as like your talent tree layout. If this is a big thing for Devastation Evoker and that's a huge thing, let me know in the comments. But to me, I'm not sure if that's going to be too big of a deal, as I'm uncertain as to what those are. Preservation, 2-set bonus has been redesigned. Reversion's healing is increased by 10%, and it has a 50% chance to grant 1 additional stack of Temporal Compression. And Temporal Compression is increasing the healing of your next Empower spell by 10% per stack. So you're going to get massive dream breaths coming out from this one for Preservation Evokers. For Hunter, Rejuvenating Wind is now only going to heal you for 12% of your maximum health, down from 20, in line with what they were talking about. The changes coming into the PTR coming in for the War Within as well at max level, with Grenade Juggler being updated, Grenade Juggler and Sulfur Link Pockets, no longer granting cooldown reduction, and Bombardier is no longer consumed by the Sulfur Line Pockets or Grenade Juggler procs. For Mage, Reabsorption now heals 3%, down from 5%. I'm really surprised to not see their barriers targeted, because their barriers are also, I was just literally just playing a Mage, and their barrier healing is really high, it's percentage based, so a bit surprised to not see that targeted. But they actually targeted Cryo Freeze from Ice Block, so you're only going to regenerate 25 to 50% of your max health, down from 40 to 80, which you weren't, I mean, other than maybe in like solo content duels, maybe some battleground situations, I didn't see this taken a lot. So I'm honestly surprised to see the barriers not targeted here. Curious if this is just like a first pass, because we're still, you know, away from the game being released at this point, and because there's a lot of percent missing, you know, percent health based healing abilities missing so far. Death Strike, things like this. For hero talent, Spell Slinger, Splinter Storm no longer has a chance to grant clear casting. More arcane nerfs, bro. Splintering Orbs now generates 2 splinters per target, down from 4. Spell Frost Teachings now summons an arcane orb at 50% effectiveness and no longer increases arcane orb damage dealt for 10 seconds. Oh my god, dude, arcane is getting smacked around, dude. For Frost, Controlled Instincts now has a 4-second grace period. These are the nerfs that are coming into the PTR that I covered in my previous build for arcane. You're just getting nerfed, just totally getting destroyed. Arcane mages, I'm sorry guys, but you guys you're looking super fun, you're looking super strong, and you know, whenever you're at the top, if you're the flower that grows too high, you're the first one that gets cut by the lawnmower, you guys are getting snipped. Frost Mage, Death's Chill now stacks up to 12 times. Time Anomaly now will grant a Water Elemental. These are the Frost Mage buffs that are coming into the PTR. They're also going to be applied to the War Within. Refreshing Icy Veins no longer breaks Fractured Frost like ice. Glacial Spike damage increased by 10%. Chiropathy and Splinter Rain are no longer a choice node. The location of nodes in Gate 3 have been adjusted. For Monk, Healing Elixirs are going to be healing 10%, down from 15. The most notable healing that I've seen from Monk, though, is Expel Harm, especially on Windwalker. Expel Harm can do millions and millions and millions of healing, and now it's automatically proc from your talent tree. So I feel like the healing, this is why I'm a bit worried about the language around hybrid healing and stuff like that. I think the healing that's passive or just in your damage rotation, those need to be looked at and cut back a lot, because they're doing an excessive amount of healing at the moment, and I haven't really seen any of those targeted so far. For Mistweaver, Overflowing Mist now heals for 0.6 to 1.2, down from 1 to 2, and Life Cocoon is going to have a 40% reduction in its absorb amount. Really see some abilities here, like the Ice Block heal and this Life Cocoon, like, I mean, if Life Cocoon is still a massive shield to the point where you ignore it anyways, is this change really going to matter? Whereas a lot of the leech healing and the passive self healing, it seems to be not targeted. But we'll have to wait. Maybe when we get to Warrior, Fury Warrior, we'll see some of those targets. For Paladins, for Ret and Holy, Herald of the Sun is getting some big nerfs. Sun's Avatar now contributes 50% of its healing to Beacon of Light, down from 100. Sun's Avatar healing decreased by 20%. Eternal Flame periodic healing decreased by 20%. Dawn Light now contributes 50% of its healing to Beacon of Light, down from 50. Luminosity now increases the critical strike rate of Holy Shock and Light of Dawn by 5, down from 10, and Gleaming Rays now increases the healing for Holy Power Spenders by 6, down from 10. Holy Paladin was also getting a tremendous amount of attention since the rework, with their Word of Glory now doing a lot more healing, talent updates, and Herald of the Sun was obviously an outlier here, so that's likely why you're seeing such significant nerfs. The upside, though, potentially here is Templar, for Ret at least. Undisputed Ruling now grants 12% haste for 6 seconds after casting Hammer of Light, down from 50. Maybe it's not good news. Empyrean Hammer damage reduced by 5%. Cries of Redemption now deals 80% of the damage to nearby enemies. And Empyrean Hammer critical strikes was 60%, a little bit of buff here. And Sacrosanct Crusade effectiveness reduced by 25. Seems like a loss here for Paladins, regardless of your Ret or Holy. The changes to the PTR are also coming through for Holy Light, 20% reduction, and reducing the cooldown of Holy Shock by 1 second, down from 2. For Ret specifically, let's see if there's a little bit of redemption for you here. Crusader Aura is no longer granted by default. Greater Judgment is granted by default. And you'll be able to take it somewhere else. Consecrated Blade is no longer a talent, it's just baseline. New talent, Holy Flames. Divine Storm deals 10% increased damage when it hits an enemy affected by expurgation. It spreads the effect of up to 4 targets hit. You deal 3% increased holy damage to targets burning from your expurgation. So you're able to spread dots around for dot builds on Retribution Paladin, which sounds super fun, kind of similar to what a Fire Mage is able to do. Justicar's Vengeance now heals for 3%, down from 5. Again, these are things where it's like, I don't think this was contributing to a huge amount of overall healing on details. I feel like looking at the things that are contributing upwards of like 50+% of their healing. It's like in the millions. Those are the abilities that really need to be targeted. I don't think this was one that was doing that. Blessed Champion is now 1 point down from 2. The following talents are now 2 down, up from 1. Heart of Crusader and Zealot's Fervor. Holy Flames is now a choice node with Blade of Vengeance. Empyrean Legacy moved to where Vanguard of Justice was on the talent tree, and Vanguard of Justice has been flat out removed. For Priest, again, you guys are another outlier. You guys are doing too well. Collapsing Void damage is reduced by 20%. Still haven't targeted the Void Blast synergies with Mind Blast, though, so you still got like some burst potential here with that build. For Discipline, Pain Transformation now heals 15% of the max health, down from 25. Again, another one where it's like, Desperate Prayer is probably more of a significant contributor to this percent-based healing than the Pain Suppression one specifically. For Rogue, Cloaked in Shadows now creates an Absorb Shield for 18%, down from 30. Soothing Darkness now heals for 15%, down from 24. I haven't seen many Rogues, if any at all, on the beta, so you guys actually had a lot of the correct things targeted for this, but I feel like you're already so weak at this point that it's like strange that other classes didn't also get this type of specific attention. For Shaman, Tempest is doing 50% more damage, and I saw an enhancement Shaman today blasting off with this one with like a Thorm's Invocation Chain Lightning build with Storm Strike. It looks really fun since this buff. It's a lot better with it doing more damage than Lightning Bolt since this, for sure. Echo of Elements, Lesser Elementals now deal 65% of the main element's damage. This change for enhancement is just from the PTR that I covered in my other video. You're no longer getting nerfed by 25%. Your Foresight has been redesigned. Now will grant you 1 Feral Spirit when activating Feral Spirits. So you'll be able to get 3, I think, when you activate them. For Restoration, Earthen Wall Totem's health reduced by 40%. See, these are like, was Earthen Wall Totem like scaling in PvE or something? I feel like do you even take Earthen Wall Totem in PvE? I feel like you don't. So it's a bit strange to see this one here. Torrent now increases Riptide healing by 20% and crit strike rate by 10%. That's the changes coming into the PTR. Warlock's Demon Skin is going to only absorb 0.12 and 0.24, down from 0.2 and 0.4. It may stack up to 5 to 10% of your max health, down from 8 to 15. I think this is a good one to target. Just the passive automatic healing. But I think there's also like, what is it called? Like Soul Leech or something. I saw a Warlock today, and it still seemed like the healing you get just from existing was way too high. Hellcaller is being redesigned for Warlocks, so you guys are getting a big update with this one. Seeds of Their Demise is redesigned after Wither reaches 8 stacks, or when its host reaches 20% health. Wither will deal Shadow Flame damage to its host every 1 second until 1 stack remains. When Blackened Soul deals damage, you have a chance to gain Tormented Crescendo or 2 stacks of Flashpoint. There's a lot more synergies with this, a lot more gameplay with this. I like this. Blackened Soul damage increased by 30%. Blackened Soul has been redesigned. Spending soul shards on damaging spells will further corrupt enemies affected by your Wither, increasing its stack count by 1 each time Wither gains a stack. It has a chance to deal Shadow Flame damage until 1 stack remains. Malevolence is being redesigned. Dark magic erupts from you and corrupts your soul for 20 seconds, causing enemies suffering from Wither to take Shadow Flame damage, increasing its stack count by 6. While corrupted, your haste is increased by 8%, and spending soul shards on damaging spells will grant an additional stack of Wither. So a lot more synergy in this, a lot more than just you get 20% haste, I think is what it was before. So I like this update. Soul Harvester for Demonology and Affliction. Succulent Soul has been redesigned. A Succulent Soul empowers your next Malefic Rapture, Hand of Gul'dan, increasing its damage by 20% and unleashing your demonic soul to deal shadow damage. Shadow of Death has been redesigned. Your Soul Rot or Summon Demonic Tyrant is empowered by the demonic entity within you, causing it to grant 3 soul shards that each contain a succulent soul. So you can get 3 big Malefic Raptures or 3 big Hand of Gul'dans, possibly, depending on the soul shard cost here. I'm probably incorrect on Hand of Gul'dan. I think it's more than 1. But interesting. So a lot more synergy gameplay with Warlock. Soul Conduit now has a 10% chance to refund, up from 5 for Affliction, and so does Destruction, 10% from 5. So obviously Soul Shard generation has become an issue here for Affliction and Destruction, and they're upping that. For Arms Warrior, they're targeting Storm Wall, now heals for 5% of maximum health, down from 8. Pain and Gain now heals for 2.1, down from 3.5. I like that they're targeting the passive healing ones, but I think the Victory Rush is also healing for a ridiculous amount, and even Second Wind to some extent. But it seems like when there's multiple DPS on you, Second Wind is a lot less impactful than when there's one, when I see like dueling and stuff like that. For Fury, Invigorating Fury now heals for 10% of the max health, down from 15, and Pain and Gain is similarly 2.1, down from 3.5. So likely would have liked to see maybe Victory Rush, or forget what it's named, where you can use it in combat, but it's doing a very significant amount of healing. So surprised to not see it targeted there. For PvP specifically, Survival of the Fittest is no longer going to provide an additional 10% damage reduction. I think this makes sense. They're rewinding some of the PvP buffs that Hunter got, because they're like, you're just baselining the War Within so much stronger. Exhilaration no longer heals for 10% increased max, and Killshot is no longer buffed by 10%. BM is getting a big buff. Cobra Shot damage is no longer reduced by 33%. Beast or Rat damage bonus is no longer reduced by 20%. And Barbed Shot is no longer reduced by 7%. So BM Hunter definitely a spec to check out with these changes. For Marksman, Razor Fragment damage bonus to Killshot is is longer reduced by 20%. I think it's meant to say no longer reduced. So 20% buff to the razor fragments, and explosive damage is no longer increased. So explosive shots getting a nerf, but razor fragments can do a bit more damage. For survival, serpent sting is no longer reduced in PvP, so it's going to be actually doing more damage. Surprise, actually buffing survival. And raptor strike is also going to be doing 5% more, and mongoose bite's getting a 3% nerf, so very minor in that sense. Seems like pretty good change for hunter overall. A little bit of a defense exchange because your defense was just so good anyways. For priest, greater heal is healing for 40% of your maximum health, down from 65. Just in accordance with everything, although I don't know if anyone's really going to end up taking this. Maybe in BGs this ends up being some spam heal. This is really obnoxious or something, I don't know, but a bit surprised to see this one here compared to some other ones for like Demon Hunter. Raid rewards, treacherous transmitter cooldown increase, so just trinket changes, and that's about it at this. So I think that this post initially is very promising, and as long as they keep following up with changes like this and keep snipping some of these percentage-based heals, and they get it into a position where they can have this attrition style of gameplay return back to the game, that will be better for the entire game, PvE and PvP included. Getting away from these bursty one-shots there, if you didn't see it coming, that's it, that's the end. You'll get no more chances for interactions, and focusing more about just what you're doing overall in your gameplay, I think will be a better experience across the entire game as a whole. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Other than that, thank you very much for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one.